Hello, folks. It's Monday. You know what time it is. It's time for another ep. Today, I'm going to be talking about a little mixture of topics. I wanted to talk firstly about seeing life like there's something to be learned from everything. And something I've been realizing recently is that through everything you can kind of perceive as a bad situation or something that's been fucking really annoying, it's actually quite easy to find something really positive in it, which is such a funny notion to grapple, but it really is the truth. A lot of people might think it's a bit delusional, but it helps me in times of turmoil. So I thought I'd detail a few stories that kind of correlate back to this notion that I'm going to talk about. So the first one is back when I was like 18 or something. My friends wanted me to come to this party, and I was like, I don't want to go at all. And I just wasn't feeling it. And I was like, fuck it, I'll go. And that's where I met my first love. Story number two. So there was this girl in high school that wasn't very nice to me. And I don't know what it was, but the two sisters just weren't very lovely. And I don't know if it was just like some inner things that they were battling, but they were just genuinely not very kind. And then all of a sudden, one of the sisters started being quite nice to me, and I'd run into her at the cafe quite a bit, and we'd have more interesting chats. And it was like she met herself more emotionally, and we became, like, I guess, coffee friends sort of thing. We just run into each other, whatever. And then she introduced me to two of my now favorite people in the world. Like, they are the best people. The connection just does not stop expanding. And then COVID happened. She completely deleted me as a person. I feel like the fruits that came out of that are two people in my life that are now just like so stimulating to my mind and just stimulating to my heart. Another one, this one makes me laugh. So the other day I was going away for a little camp trip, and I was like, I'll pop into the bookstore, get myself a little book. And I really like reading Colleen Hoover, and she's just like, she writes these books that are just, they're just kind of like lusty sort of novels. And I'm sort of like that in the movie world. I like rom-coms and stuff. It's a toxic trait of mine. So anyway, I have like every single one of hers, and I went back to the bookshop. There was a new one, and I was like, yay, like that was so easy. I put the book on the counter, and she just looks at me and she just goes, what's this rot that you're reading? And I was just like, oh, fuck. It made me just look at myself and just go, sis, this is what you're feeding your brain. And then I was like a little bit disappointed because I do like to use that as my escapism. But then I went to the self-help aisle and just bought this book on, I guess, reparenting yourself. And it ended up being like a weekend of like polishing off the whole book and learning a lot about myself and my past, and implementing new little tips and tricks moving forward. So I thought that was quite funny. She was just having a laugh about it, but for me, it was just like, yeah, you're right, sis. Like, that is pure and proper rot. Another one is, yeah, I raised a few points about a topic that I could have been a lot more sensitive about. And a girl messaged me a big long message just basically stating where I could do better. And there was her traumas kind of laced into the message and stuff, but she wasn't mean or anything like that. But it made me just kind of really look at myself for a few months and just go like, how do I want to be showing up online? Because every action has a reaction. I am a bit of a dark humor kind of girl. I do like to take the piss, and I have in the past been somebody who takes the piss out of people who have a victim mentality. And it's something that I like about myself, and something that I don't love is that because I don't validate my own experience, I'm just like, just get over it, sis. It's kind of just the way that I've moved through life. It means that I have the tendency sometimes to invalidate other people's experiences. So ever since that, I've been kind of validating my own pains more instead of just being like, just fucking get stronger. I've been able to also soften to other people's experiences. But truly, underneath all that, it comes down to me thinking that people are so fucking capable. So why would you want to stay in that hamster wheel? But yeah, I think that was such a cause to reflect and just be like, yes, Capo, like you can take the piss, but also like rein it in a bit when it's like really fucking serious topics. You gotta know when to hit the brakes. And if you do want to add something to the conversation, sit and fucking think before you go running your mouth. So that was kind of great. It's funny for me, I feel like my purpose on this planet at this time is just to share about things that I'm learning, and then hopefully people can see parts in my story that they can identify with, and maybe it's cause for more reflection for them, and then we can all realize that we're all experiencing the same sort of pains, just with different variables. And yeah, I just want people to realize that it's, I guess, all normal. I do find it really cool that each trial and tribulation is a reason to create more art or to express more. When annoying shit happens, I always think of a worst case scenario as well, which is cool. Over Christmas, I got this new board shaped and I was like, sick, I own a 20 now. And I went and picked it up from the shaper, and, you know, he got it together for me in like the space of 4 days, and we were going to work together on something. And yeah, he was just such a king. So I went to his the morning of my trip, grabbed the board. He was a bit hungover, and we strapped the, I mean, I'm not fucking blaming him whatsoever. I'm such a white girl, but we strapped the board onto the roof. So I've got 3 boards on the roof, and I set sail, head out west, and I'm like 2 days into my trip, and I realize that there's only 1 board on the roof, and I'm like, holy shit. So the Finless and the new 20 have just flown off the roof. And I went straight to, like, I was a little bit disappointed initially. I drove back and was just like, where is it? But then I was just like, in my mind, maybe it meant that I was going to break my neck on the 20 on the first surf. So I like to just kind of go like that. And funnily enough, somebody did find it, and they messaged the shaper, and they were like, yeah, she can come pick it up. And then when I messaged them, they just didn't write back. But it just means that it's not meant to be my board, or maybe it's meant to be a little country kid's board. So, in the same kind of vein as the Lessons from Lovers episode that I did, I thought I'd talk about a few of the guys that I've had in my life that have taught me kind of big lessons. Recently, I met this guy, and I realized that he was the first guy that I felt real full safety with, but like physical safety. And it's not that he was like this big, strong fucking man, but I got to feel the sensation in my body of I can just fucking lie here and I'm safe. And it was such a cool experience because I go off camping a lot, and I'm always parking in like dodgy zones or on the beach or in the rainforest. And there's always this sense, I think it's maybe a primal thing, of this sense of I'm not really that safe, but I'm doing this to kind of conquer a fear. And it was so cool being around him because I got to just sort of put my feet back, and it was one of the best feelings I have ever experienced in my life. With him, I realized that we're on like such kind of different paths. And when I messaged him to just say, yo, this is the way I'm going to go, I think, as maybe we know, I have a bit of a past of not speaking my truth. I've been practicing more of a stoic approach to my communication, which still playing around with because I am an emotional person, just trying to balance things out and be a little bit more like less leaky, less like, "Ah," and more like, these are the facts. So with him, I spoke my truth, and he actually never wrote back to my message, which was a funny thing. But when I was speaking to a friend about it, I explained to her what happened, and she was just like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel fine. And then she just goes, sis, that looks like progress. And it just was like a light bulb in my mind. I don't resent the guy whatsoever because I spoke my truth. I felt just so proud and just like so happy that I didn't have to bear those heavy, heavy feelings of resentment. I was just kind of like, hey, we're on different paths, and that's cool. Yeah, I really appreciate my friend for seeing the growth before I did. I kind of was just like, sweet, on to the next, whatever. But because it didn't phase me, it didn't like bottle up with things that just like kind of leave your consciousness like that. Yeah, you don't even notice. So it's really cool to have a friend that was just like, huh. And another one was there was a guy that I was seeing maybe last year or the year before, and he was a fucking king. And I realized also that we're on different paths. And when I communicated that to him, I was just very honest, and it wasn't very like easy, but I said some things that maybe could have like hurt his ego or made him feel rejected, which are things that I never want to do. And I realized recently that he still messages me in such a positive light. And I was just like, he doesn't resent me. He doesn't hate me. He doesn't anything. He still likes me because he values that I was honest. And I just thought that was sick because one of my boyfriends was quite like a jealous person. So it wired me to feel like I needed to tiptoe around truths. And after him, I've had to really fucking like work on that. But I thought that was really cool because in my mind, I just thought, oh, this guy's just not gonna want me to even fucking like be around. But he's just like, still just like, woo. I read this piece this morning that really kind of inspired like little bits of this potty, and it is the key is to not be vulnerable around people who you don't feel safe with. For the right people, your vulnerability will be honored. Sharing the sentiments of your heart with people that are meant to be in your life will only strengthen the field of truth and intimacy between you. That was just like such a light bulb for me. I am someone that kind of likes like getting to the nitty gritty early. I just like to know how people are feeling. I like to know what they're moving through. I just like depth. The surface level stuff just doesn't interest me, but I do realize that relationships take time to open up. Funnily enough, it's this lesson that I've just had to learn over and over again, even with a really good girlfriend. She's taken like about a year and a half to start opening up to me. And in my mind, I just saw her as more of a masculine chick. I was just like, yeah, she just, processes in her own time. That's her thing. She's not overly emotional. And I realized just the other day that she actually is. She just takes a really long time to warm and open. And I used to kind of prod her. When I realized that, I kind of just like I'm here if you need anything, but like I understand that if you don't want to talk about it, it's all good. And then she came to me in her own time, which I thought was really, really cool. Another guy, this one was really epic. This one was fucking so random, but I met this dude and he was like, I feel quite strongly in his masculine, like very just like leading. And I realized that that very naturally meant that I got to be in my feminine. And because I've often been in my masculine in the past, I've attracted more guys in their feminine who are just like, I'm here to receive. It was such a natural turn of events. I just felt like he was feeding me grapes pretty much and like fanning me all weekend long. And he was like pretty much loving it. It seemed anyway, who's to know? But it seemed like that's exactly where he wanted to be, in that role where he's giving and I'm just appreciative that I get to receive. And that felt like such a cool balance of the feminine and masculine kind of dancing together. I really, really appreciated that interaction because it got to give me a taste of the fact that I can be there if I want to be there. So that was really fucking cool. What I've been thinking about recently is like, what is it that I look for in friendships and in like close relationships and in lovers? And I've been just kind of like narrowing it down a little bit just because what we're all chasing, I realize, is a feeling. It's not like a person. I personally really like the feeling of just being with someone and you just don't have to say anything, but you just kind of know what the other person's thinking. And there's that kind of quiet banter. You're sort of like taking the piss with, it's just like a silent kind of thing. You can't really describe it, but I realize that that's what I really look for in like close connection. And I realize that they're what I've had with these particular people. And also, these people have had just like real depth. They've been through a lot of pain. And I realize that they're the people that I love the most wounded ones in ways where they're still looking at themselves and searching for answers. They're not dwelling in that victim thing. But I realize that they're the things that I've been looking for because with those people, you can take the piss to move through your things without being just like a neggy cunt. You can balance the two, which pessimism is one that I'm just like, ugh, because I've lived quite a lot of pessimism in my time. It's not something that I want to be around anymore. I really find that to be like a cool exercise, like sussing what feelings you want to feel more of and which people have activated that feeling within you. I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been noticing quite a lot of, which makes me cackle, which is the male gaze. And I hear a lot of women just being like, men this and men that. There's just been like a lot of hate towards men, but I've been really interested in trying to understand men, and I've been kind of trying to unpack the male gaze and like just like how primal guys are. Some guys anyway, it just sort of depends if it's like a boy or a man and how fucking healed they are. But yeah, I've been kind of like playing with the male gaze, and I was walking down the street the other day, and I must have been wearing something where you could sort of see my nipples, and I realized just like how some guys can be so discreet. Like, I know a lot of guys that are extremely discreet when they look at girls. Like, they're like well practiced guys. And there's guys that are just like so fucking obvious that it is truly insane to watch. Like, you'll see them just like look straight at your titties like this and then just look straight up and then like straight back at your titties. And it's just like, they don't even give a fuck if they get caught, I swear. Or they're just so present with your titties. But I realized then and there that this whole like guys looking at you and stuff like that, if we can turn it more into an appreciation of the female form, I think it then becomes really healthy. I think there's a lot of creepy guys out there, and I'm not saying that there isn't. I think the creepier the guy, the less he's reconciled within himself, and the more he's still in that like 20s to 30s area where it's just a different phase of life. You're not at that like king archetype yet, which happens more in the 30, 31, 32 plus if you are on this kind of path. But when you're more in those younger years, and you see these old men doing it too, maybe they're appreciating more your life force. I like to see it like that. And mum kind of takes the piss out of me as well. She's just still more in that like he's a creepy cunt sort of vibe. But my friend Rhea and I sort of see it as a compliment. And I think when you just realize that guys are so primal and like sex for them, it's really like quite important. I think women more important is that safety and that connection. I'm not speaking for every guy. I have the tendency to think that if a guy is more already at that stage where he appreciates the feminine form, he doesn't sexualize women, he is more in that stage where he's looking for love, it means that he's just like ticked a few things off within himself. But the more they're in that place where they're just like a little bit like, grr, that sort of means that there's like a little bit of work that needs to be done. But I think if we can turn it around and just start looking at it for what it is, men want sex, women want love, then we can sort of like get the fuck over it and just be like, if a creepy dude's looking at me now, I just go, sweet, that's a compliment. Like, I'd rather a hot dude be looking at me, but hey, you can't win them all. More on my like men's studies, I realize more and more that women just want men to be women basically. Like, they want to be able to like go to the man and just like vent and process their thing. But when I realized that men are just not here for that, like I see my brother fully just like glazing over sometimes when I'm talking about things. Like, he's really trying to be there for me for certain things, but it just doesn't interest them as much as a woman just like talking with the girls. The girls just love it. We thrive on it. If we can just like look at guys like this is how they operate. It's not a reflection of you. It's just their innate fucking nature. And, you know, it can be worse. It can be better. It can be healed. It can be like fucking twisted. But if we can stop looking at guys and being like, they suck, and stop looking at women being like, they're thirsty, she's crazy, then we can sort of meet in the middle. What I realize a lot of the time is that men work a lot slower than women. Women can, I'm sorry to say this, but we can do a lot more and we can do it efficiently. Men just have that one track focus. Women have diffuse awareness. We can sort of just like be doing a few things at one time, and that's just like a flow that's really quite ideal. And men are just not wired like that. They're more inclined to just be, I am writing, I am cooking, I am working out. Like, it's just how we are. And again, we'll complement each other if we just allow each other to just be what we need to be and what we're meant to be. So I think a lot of the time we've got women going like, he never instigates sex, or he never instigates a date, or this or that. And it's like, but if you kind of push them and you're just like, nag, 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 it's just not really going to be an environment that's going to excite them to come to you. Yeah, guys are a little bit slower, and maybe some are really thoughtful, maybe some aren't as thoughtful, but I think if we gave guys time to kind of come to us, they would take action. It's actually science that men's stress levels drop around women. They need women, they want women, but because again, their purpose comes before love. But I think the ideal is a man being fully in his purpose. And then the lady gets to support the man in his purpose. And then he feels fully fulfilled. So he has a lot of space and resources to share with his woman. I don't know what sort of woman I am. I probably have to do a little bit of writing, but what I realize as well is that for men, relationship means sacrifice, which is just an interesting one to kind of get your head around. But I'm not going to elaborate too deeply on that, and sort of like interpret that how you will. I'm so obsessed with the idea of men and women understanding each other. So I'll talk a little bit about the male clock being like a 24-hour cycle and the woman's clock being more of a 30-day cycle. It's like men will wake up with like a lot of energy. They'll bang, 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 depending on the lifestyle choices they're making. But they'll have all this energy, and come the night time, it's time to like unwind. Maybe they've finished work and they're pretty ready to just pez out and chill. Whereas a woman will be like, over the course of the 30 days, will have to move through 4 different phases in her cycle, which means a lot of different things. And it is proven that the brain literally changes over that 30-day cycle. So I think for so long I gaslighted myself and I was like, I'm above these certain emotions. I don't need to feel them. But yeah, when you realize that your whole fucking makeup just changes, I think you can give yourself a little bit more grace. I think that's where meeting in the middle is best, and just like getting to communicate with each other, how you kind of both work, and no guy is the same as the other guy. Like my brother's funny, he seems to just have energy kind of all the time, and then he has like one low day every 2 years. He makes amazing choices. He eats fucking good food. He's on this like high fat, low carb diet. He moves his body. He's got no addictions. Like he's just been this guy that's always just been locked in, and he reaps the rewards from it. But then I've noticed a few of my girlfriends who have like younger boyfriends who are still in that like penetrate the world type energy, that like what's next energy. It means that they like go super hard, just like what's next, go, go, go. And then they kind of get to the end of the day and they're just shot. And the woman's like, I want attention now. And then the guy's just like, but I'm fucked. It's like, it's quite a funny thing, but I want to be able to put guys in this category and women in this category, but I'm not like any of my girlfriends. Like, I don't know too many guys that are the same, but I do notice a lot of correlations. And when I was talking to Sven on the potty last week, I just realized that he's very similar to a lot of the guys that I've been studying. So yeah, it is quite cool. But yeah, the bottom of the story is that the bottom of the story, does that make sense? Who knows? The bottom of the Brumby is that I think we can complement each other if we just apply curiosity, and we're maybe a little bit less emotional. Guys as well. Not too up here. This is what I'm learning. I'm trying to be more in my heart. Knock, knock, little bitty. But yeah, no, we're in a good place. It's day 21 of not smoking any weed. And this morning I just realized that I thought I was fucking repressing emotions. I realized that I'm actually not repressing any emotions. I'm repressing the fear of boredom. So it's been a big realization. I'm just feeling like shit. Yeah, I just want to smoke a doobie now that I'm not repressing anything. So yeah, another funny realization. I was reading a book last week that just says boredom is just like perfectionism, and perfectionism is just like addiction to work. It's all the same shit. So I'm keen to just move a few things around in my life and to just keep getting comfortable with the boredom as well, because life won't always be stimulating. I feel like this has been a year for me of becoming okay with that stillness. But yeah, such a light bulb, and I just cannot believe the things that come through in the quiet. Sat in that like stillness for so long, in that discomfort. That's probably a one that a lot of people would struggle with if they gave themselves the time to be bored. There was a bit of shame wrapped around the idea of admitting to boredom. So I think genuinely there's an epidemic of people who are just like busying their lives so they don't have to look at things. But me, I just didn't busy my life, but I sat in the boredom and was just like, wow, this do be uncomfortable. So yeah, that's probably also where me smoking the ganja came from, because smoke the gunge, get ideas, create, and then keep going on the hamster wheel. But yeah, I'm not going to smoke the doobie because I said 30 days. But man, it's funny, like, I swear when you decide certain things and you're just like detached. I've had like 3 people drop a bag of weed off in the past week. So if you want to raid my house, go to the fridge, the top of the fridge, because I'm looking at it right now with sparkly eyes. Another thing I wanted to talk about is this really cool notion that you don't ever have to be any one thing. You can always pivot, you can always change, and your identity can constantly shift. You don't have to be a singer or a DJ or whatever it is. You can just always be whatever you want to be without getting attached to that identity. And coming into this year, I started like doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, like doing the DJ thing, doing photo, doing video, a bit of set design, so many hobbies, and doing a lot of things with the DJ thing that scared me. And I was just like getting invited to do this gig and being so detached from any outcome because I actually just didn't give a fuck. I was doing it to challenge the fear of being in front of people and bringing out that kind of looser sort of energy that's definitely there. And what I realized through doing all these gigs is that I don't want to do the DJ thing. And the last kind of gig I did, I just realized that it's fully not for me. And that's when I got thinking on like doing things and trying things and tasting things and being like, sweet, it's not for me. What's next? I really like the idea of just picking things up and putting them down. And yeah, I thought that was like a cool thing to do. Dad, when I was younger, just said to me, like, just finish something. And then it made me go, oh, fuck, like, I should finish something. And it really did actually help because I was like, bitch, just finish something. I love that idea that you can just try something, fuck it off, and you can come back to it if you want. And yeah, that's how you realize what you like and what you don't like and what gives you energy, what doesn't. And I'm still a shit DJ. And when I started, I was really shit and had to get over a lot of head noise. But it's just been such a transformative process in that something that I put no like expectations around was the thing that got me so many opportunities. And it made me realize that moving forward, I don't really want to be like, I hope this brings me that or whatever. I just want to be like fully detached because when I got offered, I guess this would be a more of a highlight on paper. I got offered to play on a lineup with a band that's pretty well known, I guess. Like their music is just not the music that I like, but on paper it looked pretty cool. I was excited and I patted myself on the back for getting it, and it is also who you know. But it was just such a good realization to be like, sweet, I did that, put a year in, it's just not my scene. What's next? Like, what is actually my scene? I love that, and I wonder what I'm going to pick up next. There's something brewing. I'm just kind of like looking at it at the moment. I'm like, I think this is my 2025 focus. That's enough from me, little brumbies. Do you have anything you want to add? Crickets. All right. Thanks for watching, listening, being here, commenting, DMing. I appreciate it all.